Animal Crossing New Horizons. When I set out to do a review, I put it in two different categories. One where I need to explain it to you so you understand the basics of the game as you're coming here for a review to see if it's really worth it or not. The other kind is you just wanting to hear my opinion about a game you pretty much already bought or like. So I can do a lot of shorthand and not really explain a lot in detail. And this is clearly that one. A month in, it's the best-selling version of the series. So you don't need my recommendation. It's a buy, of course. Now, my youngest would actually disagree with that, but more on that later. I decided to wait a month before my review because I really wanted to experience the game over time, as this game is about doing everything slowly and relaxing. This is the third Animal Crossing game that I've played. I didn't play the 3DS or DS versions as I really can't see handhelds that well, and I prefer playing on a console. I played the original game for the GameCube, the one for the Wii, and now this. I will say this is the best of these, but like I said, my youngest would actually disagree with that. He thinks New Leaf is better. I asked him to be on this review, but he had no interest in that, so I will be voicing his concerns and dislikes about the game. Now, Animal Crossing is played in real time. Animal Crossing has been around for 20 years, and nobody's really copied the formula as far as I can remember. Sure, people have made places where you can hang out and relax, but doing it in real time and actively encouraging the player not to spend a lot of time in it by limiting the things they could do is just a very interesting idea. But it really works. Everything is always what's going to happen tomorrow. It's all about waiting. It's a great thing to teach children that not everything good is going to happen right now. Sometimes waiting for something can be just as good. Like for this review, for example. This takes most of what was in the other games and refines it. You could say they downgraded it a little by making you start up your own village from scratch. And the first few days of this were not as engaging as I would have liked. However, if you stuck with it, the more things would get built and new things for you to do would present itself. One of the worst parts about this was the reliance on player one. For some reason, Nintendo has decided that the first player who plays the game has more control over the island than everyone else. So they're basically the mayor without actually saying it. The other players can't experience everything the first player can. It always acts like it's their island and everyone else is just a guest. There are events that only the first player will get to see. And this is unacceptable. They made it so you can only have one island per Switch, and that's fine for me. But you need to let everyone have equal footing. If you're not going to do that, give us the option to have separate islands. I loved watching the opening fire pit get together for the first player. And I assumed we'd get the same thing as a welcome to the island. But nope. They said, welcome, here's a tent and a phone, have a nice life. We ran into the problem that the second player and third player ended up playing way more than the first. In fact, the first player doesn't even play anymore. If we want to build a bridge on our island, we have to log into them and then do it. Why? This makes no sense! Why not let the second or third player decide as well? Now, I have said it before that I wish the villagers who come join you on the island were more interactive. And while they do more things outside and have new animations, the things they say still don't matter. I would love it if they gave them storylines that span days or weeks. Give them personalities that don't rely on goofy sayings. Let them marry each other. Get sick so we need to go on a quest to cure them. Give us any reason that we might want to hang out with them, as there really isn't one. The visuals look amazing. Everything is shiny and pretty to look at. Plus, I loved all the music and sounds. I really enjoyed it when it rained, and there was a really moody atmosphere. And the very rare times where there was thunder and lightning, I was genuinely scared. They added a new crafting system, and I mostly only used it to make new tools, which tended to break way too often. It was like I was playing Breath of the Wild again. They needed to add a bulk crafting option in those times where you wanted to make the same thing more than once. Now, the Nook Miles were a great addition. It was like achievements that gave you a reason to get them. Each time you finished one, they would give you a different amount of points. You could redeem them for items, expanded abilities, and trips to different islands to plunder. I do think it's completely ridiculous that some of the gameplay abilities, like the tool wheel, are locked behind Nook Miles. I like the islands. There are basically 10 or so different shapes and a couple gimmick islands, like ones that have money in the rocks, or one that has garbage in the rivers and oceans. And it's more about catching bugs. I know the Littlest was very disappointed in this, and I can understand that thinking. Why not make them truly randomly generated, or more interesting? It does feel like they took the easy way out on the islands. I still go to the islands mainly because I need resources. Speaking of resources, they don't reset it when you change characters, which means another character who's playing before you can take all the resources in the game. The rocks have different materials that come out of them, but you can actually tap them out. You'll have to wait a day before they have some again. Why they don't just give everyone their own resources, I just don't get. This game is a work in progress. The Littlest suspects it's because the game wasn't finished, and they didn't want to delay it again. I think they just want to do a more Splatoon type of rollout, where they encourage encourage people to come back and see all the new features. I was never a fan of this in Splatoon because they didn't have a lot of features and different maps. This, on the other hand, was very open-ended, and I was okay with them adding more in time. Just like the other games, there are themed days like Bunny Day, which is just like Easter. They have a bunch planned out, but for some reason they've stretched one-day events to a week or more. This seems unnecessary, and it kind of takes the fun and specialness out of it. But they really need to limit the holidays to one day, and maybe have theme weeks that are like leading up to it. The camera can be moved around when you're in your house, which is great, but I wish you could move it around the world, or at least let us see behind a tree. Too many times I had to try and maneuver around just to see what I was doing. You can change the camera angle a little bit, but most of the time it wasn't very helpful. This game will suck away hours of your life. I have over 50 hours into this game, and if it wasn't for the counter Nintendo offers, I would have suspected it was way lower. Time just flies while playing this. Animal Crossing New Horizons is fantastic. I wouldn't be surprised if this was my #1 on my best list this year. Even with the very slow beginning, it's still a lot of fun to play. It's just so relaxing to have an open world to explore with no pressure. Is it the best version of the series? Well, to me, it is. But to the littlest, no, it isn't. He likes New Leaf more, but he freely admits if they fix the Player 1 issue and let people have their own islands, he would enjoy it a lot more. So is this worth the buy? Of course it is. If you're looking for a plot-driven game with clear goals, this isn't the game for you. But if you're looking to relax and leave the world's problems behind you, you're going to love this game. So it's definitely worth a buy.